Have you ever wondered why the best employees at your company seem to get stuck in the same position for years, while mediocre performers keep getting promoted? Or why that brilliant coworker who revolutionized an entire process is still doing the exact same job they were hired for 5 years ago? Well, I hate to break it to you, but there's a very good reason for this. Your job doesn't actually want you to be too good at it. Now, before you start thinking this is just another rant about corporate culture, let me tell you something that might shock you. The most successful companies in the world have built their entire business model around keeping their best performers exactly where they are, and the numbers are not pretty. According to recent workplace studies, employees who consistently exceed expectations in their current role are 23% less likely to receive a promotion compared to those who perform just well enough to meet targets. That's not a typo. Being exceptional at your job is actually hurting your career prospects. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't some grand conspiracy by evil executives sitting in boardrooms plotting against hardworking employees. It's actually much worse than that. It's a systematic problem built into the very foundation of how modern businesses operate, and most managers don't even realize they're doing it. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly why this happens, how it's probably affecting your career right now, and what you can do about it. But first, let me give you some context about just how widespread this problem really is. The phenomenon has a name in corporate psychology circles. It's called competency trapping, and it affects roughly 40% of all knowledge workers in developed economies. But that statistic only captures the people who are aware it's happening to them. The real number is probably much higher because most people trapped in this cycle don't even realize what's going on until it's too late. Think about it from your manager's perspective for a moment. You have someone on your team who consistently delivers excellent results, never misses deadlines, and makes your department look good. Why would you want to lose that person to another department or promote them into a role where they might not be as effective? From a purely selfish standpoint, keeping them exactly where they are makes perfect sense. Now, companies will never admit this publicly because it sounds terrible from a human resources perspective. Instead, they've developed an entire vocabulary of corporate speak to justify this behavior. They'll tell you that you're too valuable in your current role, or that you need to develop more leadership skills before moving up. They'll create development plans that seem designed to help, but actually keep you busy with busy work while maintaining the status quo. But the rabbit hole goes much deeper than individual managers making selfish decisions. The entire structure of modern corporations is designed to extract maximum value from employees, while giving them just enough hope of advancement to keep them motivated. It's like a casino where the house always wins, except instead of losing money, you're losing years of your career. Here's a perfect example of how this plays out in the real world. Sarah, a software developer at a major tech company, single-handedly built a system that saved her company millions of dollars annually. Her reward: she became the go-to person for maintaining that system. Every time she applied for a promotion or tried to move to a different team, she was told that her current project was too critical and they couldn't afford to lose her expertise. Meanwhile, her colleague Mike, who was competent but not exceptional, kept getting moved around to different projects and eventually landed a management role overseeing Sarah's work. Mike now makes 40% more than Sarah, despite contributing significantly less value to the company. This isn't an isolated incident. It's happening in offices, factories, hospitals, and schools across the entire economy. The people who are genuinely good at their jobs become trapped by their own competence, while those who are just good enough at playing office politics climb the corporate ladder. The most frustrating part is that everyone involved knows this is happening, but the incentive structures are so misaligned that nobody has any motivation to fix it. Your manager gets rewarded for keeping their best performers. Senior leadership gets rewarded for maintaining departmental efficiency, and you get rewarded just enough to keep showing up while your career stagnates. But there's something even more insidious about this whole system that most people never consider. It's not just that being too good at your job prevents you from getting promoted. The very act of becoming indispensable in one specific role actually makes you less valuable to the broader organization over time. When you become the person everyone relies on for one particular thing, you stop learning new skills. You stop building the diverse experience that actually qualifies someone for senior leadership positions. Instead, you become what organizational psychologists call a single point of failure in your department's operations. This creates a vicious cycle that's almost impossible to break. The better you get at your specific role, the more dependent your organization becomes on your expertise. The more dependent they become, the less willing they are to let you try new things. The less you try new things, the less qualified you become for positions that require broader experience. And before you know it, you've spent a decade becoming the world's leading expert in something that only matters to one company. Meanwhile, your less competent colleagues are bouncing between departments, learning just enough about each area to speak the language in meetings. They're building what corporate recruiters call transferable skills, while you're building expertise that can't be easily replaced or replicated. Now, you might be thinking that this is just how specialization works in a complex economy. After all, shouldn't companies reward deep expertise? Well, here's the thing. They do reward it, just not in the way you might expect. They reward it by making sure you never leave. The data on this is actually pretty shocking. Employees who stay in the same role for more than 2 years earn on average 50% less over their lifetime compared to those who change positions every 18 to 24 months. But the most productive employees in any given role tend to stay in that role 60% longer than average performers. They're literally being punished for their competence with lower lifetime earnings. This gets even more twisted when you realize that many companies have formal policies that supposedly prevent this kind of thing from happening. They have talent development programs, internal mobility initiatives, and succession planning processes. But these programs are often just elaborate theater designed to make employees feel like they have opportunities for growth. While the actual decision-making happens behind closed doors, I've seen companies spend thousands of dollars sending their best individual contributors to leadership training programs only to bring them back to the exact same job with the exact same responsibilities. The training becomes a consolation prize rather than preparation for actual advancement. The really clever part is how companies frame this to make it sound like they're doing you a favor. They'll tell you that you're being given the opportunity to really master your craft, or that you're building a foundation for future leadership roles. What they're really saying is that they've found someone who can do excellent work for average pay, and they have no intention of changing that arrangement. But perhaps the most devastating aspect of this whole system is how it affects your sense of self-worth and professional identity. When you consistently deliver exceptional results and don't see corresponding career advancement, you start to internalize the message that maybe you're not as valuable as you thought you were. Maybe you really do need more development. Maybe you really aren't ready for that promotion. This psychological manipulation is so effective that many trapped employees actually become grateful for their situation. They convince themselves that job security and being appreciated for their current contributions is better than the uncertainty that comes with career advancement. They become complicit in their own professional stagnation. The companies that are best at this kind of manipulation don't rely on obvious tactics like denying promotions outright. Instead, they create elaborate systems of recognition and reward that make employees feel valued without actually advancing their careers. Employee of the Month programs, small bonuses, public recognition ceremonies, and fancy job titles that don't come with additional responsibilities or pay increases. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, the uncomfortable truth is that if you're reading this and recognizing your own situation, you're probably already trapped. The good news is that awareness is the first step toward breaking free. You can't solve a problem you don't understand, and now you understand exactly what's happening to you and why. The solution isn't to become mediocre at your job. That's not going to help anyone, least of all you. The solution is to become strategically mediocre while building skills and relationships that actually matter for your career advancement. Document your achievements, make them visible to people outside your immediate team, and most importantly, start saying no to projects that will make you more indispensable in your current role. Remember, your company doesn't owe you a promotion just because you're good at your job, but you don't owe them your entire career either. The moment you realize that your exceptional performance is being used against you is the moment you can start taking back control of your professional future. Don't let your competence become your prison. The system is rigged, but once you know how it works, you can learn to work around it instead of working within it. Your career is too important to leave in the hands of people whose incentives don't align with your success.